Welcome to Diversity Conversations, where we engage in thought-provoking dialogue to identify leadership solutions to today's most challenging conflicts. Stream live each week, Saturday 9:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. Hosted by Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Strategist and CEOs Eric Ellis and Tommy Lewis. Join us and add your voice to this engaging diversity conversation.
Good morning, Greater Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, the United States, and the world. My name is Eric Ellis, and I'm the President and CEO of Integrity Development Corporation. And I'm joined this morning by my good friend and brother,
Tommy Lewis, President and CEO of Make It Plain Consulting. Good morning, Eric Ellis.
We are still alive.
We're still here.
We were wondering, man, are you guys coming back? I said we absolutely are coming back. We just needed to, get some additional rest, retool. But we are so excited to be back. Tommy, I'm so glad to see you, man. So glad to be back on the air with you.
Yeah, I am as well, Eric. And to our faithful community, thank you for sticking in with us. We are back, as Eric mentioned, and we have some exciting things coming down the pike that you were responsible for, our community. You wanted more. You wanted to see more guests. You wanted more content. You've offered up some suggestions around content, and we're excited to have these diversity conversations about almost anything and everything. So good morning, Eric.
Good morning, Tommy. Hey, Tommy, just it might be helpful for us just to give people just a quick snapshot of some of the things that we've been doing since the last time we were together on the air. Just in case you all don't know it, Tommy and I are really friends. And so we've done a lot of golfing together, and we've certainly been in conversation on a regular basis. But Tommy, what are some of the things that you all at Make It Plain Consulting have been doing? And then you personally.
Yeah, Eric, on the Make It Plain side, we have continued to be blessed and receive a lot of great opportunities. The receiving of the opportunities is through our work. We
right.
grow our business through either requests for proposals, and we package a proposal, submit it, and then we go through a process of interviewing, and ultimately winning business. We also win business through referrals. And so the previous clients that we have, even existing clients, we are referred to other opportunities through these clients. And that's a very, very successful model for us. And then third, to be honest, Eric, I don't know how we get certain opportunities. They just pop up on the scene, right? It's just kind of the blind.
Thank God for the ones that pop up on the scene.
They pop up, the blind call, the blind email. Hey, we need you like yesterday. Are you available? And we have to be strategic in that. And so we've expanded our services through nonprofit organizations, the academic or educational institutions, nonprofits. And these organizations are sometimes small. They may have 15, 20 employees. And many times they are medium and large companies, Eric. We're working with clients who have sometimes 10, 20, 30,000 employees, and it's over a 2, 3, 4, and even 5-year process. And so it's not a turnkey where you come in, do one training, one consultation, and then everything is resolved. But it's a process, and we continue to say that we are Make It Plain Consulting, not make it difficult, not
That's
make
right.
it worse,
That's
right? Not make it troublesome, but make it plain. We are in tough, complex times, and we are part of that solution to make it plain. So that's what we've been doing for the last several months.
That's excellent, Tommy. Well, I've certainly been able to keep up with you and keep track of some of the great work that you're doing with Make It Plain Consulting. We at Integrity Development are also continuing to expand our horizons and enjoy the work that we're doing with so many different clients that we serve. I've also had a chance to do some keynote addresses in Boston with the Providers Council. I went out there, man, and all the health and human service organizations, agencies came together for a summit, and I was their keynote speaker, and it was really moving to just see all of the different services that are being provided for people, man, and the ways that people's potential is being realized through human services. And so it was so delightful to be a part of that process. Also had a chance to do a keynote address with the Giant Corporation in their new learning center, and went to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and had a chance to do some work with them. And now we're going to go back and do some additional consulting and training support with them as well. Just a great organization. Also, I just want to really give a special shout out to Louisville Water. They're one of my favorite clients. We are now moving through phase 3 of our work with them. And the CEO, Spencer Bruce, and the Senior Vice President of HR, Terrence Spence, are two individuals who are deeply committed to the work of building a culture that is diverse, equitable, inclusive, and where people have a sense of belonging. I asked the CEO, would he be willing to be sort of the inaugural executive sponsor for the DEI Council there. We're calling it the Core Council. Mm-hmm. We created that acronym to talk about councils of employees that would focus on the culture, on taking ownership, both leaders taking ownership for DEIB, but also employees realizing that they have some ownership that they can take. Building that culture of respect, that's the R, and then engagement. How do we ensure that all employees are engaged? And so I asked the CEO to be the executive sponsor, and he went one step further and has really been attending every single meeting. Wow. And has been intimately involved in discussions, has done ride-alongs with his people. He's calling me on a regular basis about Core Council. And we've had some deep and compelling conversations, Tommy. You know, when employees, some of them have for the first time in their careers, they've had this much access to the CEO. He's sitting at their table, engaged in conversations with them. It's been powerful, man. And I am confident that we're going to see significant progress around that organization. We've done all the research. So I'm just really excited about the work that we're doing there. And so many other organizations. Tommy, that's one of the things that we want to talk about is where are we today as it relates to DEI? George Floyd died in 2020. And, so in just a minute or two, we'll come back and kind of talk about that. The other thing that I've been doing, as you're aware of, is I love music. And so all 4 of my children do music. And I have had the great honor of working with my youngest, Ethan Ellis. September is his stage name. And he is an amazing producer and engineer. And so he has taken me and sort of reworked some of my styles. So it's been just interesting when the parent becomes the student, And so we've done a couple of songs together, and that's just been a real blast. So having fun, man. I know I feel like we're tired a lot. I don't know if you feel that way as well, Tommy, but it's just, man, so much going on in the world around us. I think people are just exhausted, man. I tell people I love Fridays and I love Mondays. Since I love what I do, I love getting started. But also at the end of the week, man, I'm glad to wrap it up and take a few days off. I'll be going to San Diego later on today, and I'm speaking at SHRM's National Inclusion Conference. And so I'm looking forward to that.
Hey, Eric, could you tell us a little bit more about SHRM and what it is and kind of what benefit it might bring to organizations, again, small, medium, and large?
Excellent, Tommy. SHRM, the Society for Human Resource Management, is probably the world's largest HR professionals organization. And so you've got 300,000 or 400,000 members of this organization. The CEO is Johnny Taylor, African-American male, who has just been doing an amazing job providing tremendous leadership for this organization. I serve on SHRM's I&D expert panel, their inclusion diversity expert panel. I also worked with SHRM to sort of be their subject matter expert to design their inclusion credential. And so I was excited to be a part of that. SHRM has me as a part of their speakers bureau. So when people are going through things, they're looking for speakers. They oftentimes will find me through SHRM's Speakers Bureau. And I've just been so excited to be able to network with so many other talented, capable people. It's probably been one of the best professional organizations that I've been a part of. My wife, Judy, has also spoken at SHRM's conferences. I speak at their annual conference. I've spoken at their talent conference. They do conferences on different topics, but really for people that are interested in the human resource field, or people that are professionals in those fields working with small organizations, especially if you're an HR department of one. They have so much material, so much content available to really help individuals strengthen their human resources components of their business. And I would say, with what we're seeing right now, last year was termed the Great Resignation, where in the typical organization, 50% of the people were actively searching for another job. Tommy, this year it's 57%.
Wow.
And so we're seeing people, man, that are just walking out the door. I believe because of the pandemic, because of social unrest, people are just looking at life differently. And they're beginning to ask the question, is this work the work that I really want to do?
Yeah, Eric, and that's the question that all of us, I think, are constantly asking ourselves. As you mentioned before, you have your Mondays and Fridays, loving the week to start, but can't wait to the weekend.
That's right.
And we love the work that we do.
Right.
And so even with, for those who love the work that they do, but may have had an unpleasant engagement with a coworker or a manager, supervisor, or even a direct report, or a customer or client, those consistent negative interactions wear on anyone. And now I think that people are making decisions, literally life-changing decisions. I don't have to stay here. Right? And so it really leads itself to talent management, workforce shortages, the real work of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging.
Right.
When folks are stopping, quitting, right? They may be quitting and leaving, or quitting and staying.
Right.
When that's happening, that increases a lot of things, right? There's a lot of things go away, like productivity, trust starts to diminish, communication, and all that good stuff. And so with SHRM, as you mentioned, it's a great resource.
Right.
And as you were sharing, Eric, it reminded me of one of our clients, Lutheran Services of America. And we've been engaged with them. They are very familiar across the U.S., but not as much by Lutheran Services of America. They have a number of different operations, and they care for our community members who are severely disabled. Right. And so when you look at any city, for the most part, be it urban or rural, there are places where our community members who are disabled, some of them are inaudible, some of them are immobile, but they need care.
Right.
So they've engaged us, myself, for a 3-part series on diversity, equity, and inclusion, with blogs, with tie-ins to other videos like Diversity Conversations. They're using Diversity Conversations as part of their curriculum throughout the United States of America.
That's
and
awesome.
So one of the questions they have is around workforce, right? And so we have a lot to talk about, a lot to catch up on, because I think, and Eric, that this work kind of never ends.
Right.
It never ends, right?
Right.
And you and I, at times, we need to excel. And it's not 1 week excel. It's like, let's take a couple of weeks, several weeks, to regroup and leverage each other, leverage our resources, and then come back to be able to work well with our communities.
Right. I'll tell you what, Tommy, one of the things I love about being around for a little while and getting a little gray hairs and getting older is that you live long enough to see some of the things that were predicted actually come to be. And
Come
so
on, Eric.
I remember when Workforce 2000 came out and all the predictions that were being made. And I remember one of the things we said that was said in the Workforce 2000 report was, by the year 2025, there would be more jobs than there were people to do them. And guess what, Tommy? That's where we are.
We are
right now, man. There are more jobs than there are people to do those jobs, especially in the technical areas. And so what we're seeing is that the balance of power in organizations is now leaning in the direction of the people.
Yep.
I like that part because it means then that organizations, so ultimately, Tommy, they're headed our way, at least in the direction of our message about the importance of creating people-centered workplaces. You can ignore that for a period of time until you get to a place that you now have to compete for talent.
Mm.
And so I may have shared this before, but I like shopping. That's one of my hobbies. And I like shopping at discount stores, like Ross Dress for Less is one of my favorite little spots. And I'll go in there, you can spend $50 and get 10 things or something, and so I got all kind of junk from Ross Dress for Less. But I was in there. One of the things I like about them is that they used to stay open late till like 10 p.m. And I was in there a few months ago, and it was just after I got off work. So I was in there about 5:15, 5:30. And somebody comes on the loudspeaker and says, you need to bring your last purchases to the front desk. We'll be closing in 15 minutes. I'm like, what? You're going to be closing in 15 minutes? It's like 5:15 right now. That's 5:30. They're closing at 5:30 because they didn't have enough staff to keep the store open.
Wow.
And so, Tommy, I think that is going to suggest to us that organizations are going to have to go beyond the thinking of just their products and their services or even their mission. And they're going to have to start figuring out, how do we create workplaces that people want to be a part of? And Tommy, you and I know something about at least how to facilitate that conversation and help organizations gain understanding about their culture, how people perceive it today, where they are operating in equitable ways. We know some things about how to create, a culture of respect. We understand the importance of belonging. I think that it's so important for organizations to realize the pressures that people are under. Tommy, there's the thing I'm going to be talking about at SHRM next week is a new principle that I've established through this sort of pandemic. And I call it the DEI Oz principle. Have I shared that with you before?
No, you haven't.
Okay. So this is an interesting principle that I developed, Tommy, going through this pandemic. I called it the DEI Oz principle because I've had a lot of opportunities to work with different C-suite teams. So the senior leadership of 3 or 4 major corporations have hired me to be a consultant to do retreats and work with their senior leaders. And so I call this the DEI Oz principle because everybody knows the story of the Wizard of Oz. That's what this is taken off of. Dorothy, the lion, the Tin Man, the Scarecrow were all going to Oz to find the wizard so that the wizard could solve their problems. He could help Dorothy get home and, everybody knows the story. They got to Oz, they found the wizard and discovered that the wizard was this little short bald guy that couldn't do anything. So now you got to figure out how to get home yourself, how to get your heart, your brain, and all like that. And what I've seen in corporate America, Tommy, is that oftentimes we look at our senior leaders as though they're the wizards. And people literally, they line up behind, we lost you there. They line up at the door with their hands filled with requests.
Yep.
They're waiting for the door to open so they can just, here's my stuff, fix it. Well, breaking news. Oftentimes, the senior leaders don't have the answers, number one. But number two, I'll give an example. I was working with a German company, and the CEO was like, Eric, when you do the retreat, we're a fast group, a quick group. Don't waste a lot of time. Keep it moving, get to the point. Yes, ma'am. And I got in the retreat, and we were moving along quickly. And then all of a sudden, she comes to me and says, Eric, I feel as though we're on the verge of an authentic conversation about what it's like to be a part of this team. Is there anything you could do to help us? I said, yes. I could do a fishbowl. So I put 6 chairs in a circle and I asked senior executives, if you're willing to be honest about what it's like to be a part of this team, take a seat in the circle. 6 people sat down. The first one was a woman. She said, she said, I work across 5 time zones. She says, when I tell somebody, when they ask me to get a project done by Friday, I tell them I can't. They said, that's okay. Get it to me Saturday or Sunday, as though I work 7 days a week.
Mm.
She said, I've got 3 children that are under 5. My husband's raising them by himself. She said, this is not sustainable. I don't think I can continue doing this. The second person was a white male. He said, I'm a collaborator. He said, we all said, we agreed that the only way we could succeed as a leadership team is to collaborate, but nobody has time to collaborate.
Mm.
He said, so oftentimes I just have to make up you all's data to get my work done. He said, that's not sustainable. The third executive said, I'm so burnt out. He said that I don't have anything left in the tank to motivate the people that work for me.
Wow.
Tommy, what I'm seeing, just like when you're on a plane, every time we get on a plane, you and I, the first thing they say is that if for any reason this plane is going down, when the oxygen mask comes down, put your own oxygen mask on first. Tommy, what I realize now is that this DEI Oz principle basically says that in many ways, we're going to have to solve a lot of our own problems, but we also may need to demonstrate empathy to our leaders so that we can then help them to create healthier environments and cultures at the leadership level. And as we help them develop healthier cultures and interactions and work-life balance, I have seen, Tommy, that that's then inspiring them to do the same throughout the rest of the organization. So that's been a huge revelation to me. I was looking at research in preparation for this, and what it's saying, Tommy, is that I just mentioned to you 57%. That's the number of people in the typical organization that are actively looking to get out of that company. You know what it is for the C-suite? 70%.
Oh my.
Yeah, 70. Their numbers are they're more stressed, they're more depressed than the average workforce. So everything that the workforce is going through, the C-suite is struggling with in even greater measure. There's a term that's called the perfection paradox.
Yep.
That these leaders are feeling as though they have to have it all, be able to do it all. And they're just folding under the pressure of the supply chain issues, of the economy and the recession, of social justice. I mean, they're just of AI, of technology. All these things are mounting up. Now, I know, Tommy, that for marginalized people, the last thing they have energy for is getting out a violin and playing a sad song for the executives. But for those of us that work inside of organizations, Tommy, we realize, man, that that is a part of our job, is to sort of help heal them, if you will, help them demonstrate more empathy toward those leaders so that they will be better equipped to then provide and develop better cultures. So
I think everything that you're sharing, as I was listening, I was hearing what you were saying, relating to what you were saying,
right,
and connecting what you were saying with multiple aspects of my life. Business, everything you said, Eric, right? It related to me on the business front. Personally, as I just look at my nuclear family,
right,
right? And as the father or as the adult, as the parent, right? As sometimes the breadwinner,
right,
have that perfection paradox.
right.
Got to carry the weight of everything.
That's right.
And sometimes I'm seeing, and maybe other parents and those who are running their particular households may feel like they themselves are the Wizard of Oz.
Right.
And everyone's finding their different paths, a golden pathway
Right.
to you.
Right.
Right. And you know, I know, in our heart of hearts, mind of minds, behind that curtain, we're pulling levers,
Right.
right? Pulling the smoke screen, because I need time to think about
Yeah,
this is new
yeah, right,
opportunity.
right,
Smoke,
right,
right? You're pull up the mirrors, let
right,
them just see themselves, right? And let
right,
them reflect. And I'll
right.
just sit behind the mirror and say, what do you see in yourself? And don't give any advice, any direction, because I don't have any capacity to do any more. So I allow you to see yourself, to see your own answer in you. And then turn that mirror around and look at yourself like, whoa, wait a minute, what happened to me?
Right.
Right?
Right.
I mean, it was just yesterday or yesteryear, yesterdecade that I was looking and feeling a certain way. But now I have more grays, more wrinkles, more fatigue, more, and then less.
Right.
Less time, less energy,
Right.
less tolerance, right? And now the the Oz is uncovered, right? And folks like, this is it, right?
Right.
You're a short, white, bald man. Like, well, I'm just like you.
Yeah.
And that's what we do, Eric, so well. As we share our lived experiences personally, as well as the experiences that we have heard from the many clients, customers, employees, staff, and people that we work with, what we do in our diversity conversations, it's not selfish. It's not selfish at all. What we do is we have mounds of stories, sometimes issues, concerns, and needs, maybe some solutions and resolutions.
Right.
And we're kind of combining that into a conversation, a dialogue, a discussion, right? Such that our community and ourselves can see ourselves in that discussion and realize that Eric Ellis is not the answer. He is an instrument to the answer.
Right.
How
On my
many
good days.
on good days? How many instruments do I have?
Right.
Right. So Tommy Lewis will come to Eric Ellis to use Eric Ellis as an instrument, knowing that that's a two-edged instrument. Eric, if you need me, use me, etc.
Right.
But now I have a different problem, that Eric is not the right tool, not the right instrument.
Right. That's right.
Right. And sometimes I had to go to my faith-based instrument. Right. And so all of this is diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Right.
I'm extra excited all of a sudden because, like you said, the Workforce 2020 did its research. It projected its trends 5 years out, right? Even more to 2025. And things are repeating itself.
Right.
One other thing that's repeating itself is this sentiment that diversity, equity, and inclusion, belonging is new. It's repeating itself, Eric.
Right.
Right. So that's what's happening. And some of our chief diversity officers in the space, they're getting tired.
60% quitting in less than 3 years.
60%. Right. And so what that looks like is every month, every quarter, it's got this new idea, right? We're going to call it, we're going to call it diversity.
Right.
I know you've never heard of it.
Right.
Called diversity.
Right.
And we used to call it diversity, basically race, gender identity, maybe sexual orientation, whatever, maybe even religion.
Right.
But now we've learned that it's thinking style, or it's communication style, or it's some influence from the external environment, like media, politics, social justice, that's informing our new diversity.
Mm-hmm.
The diversity leaders are saying, no, you remember 20 years ago when I was in R&D or manufacturing and I was on the committee and I've elevated my career to make it to the chief diversity officer. I was telling you that then. It's not new. I'm telling you that now. Right. And so we get to that diversity fatigue and diversity burnout. And folks are saying, I can only do it for so long.
That's exactly right. And I think whether we're talking about the chief diversity officer who is burnout, whether we're talking about the C-suite leadership team that people don't want to have a lot of empathy for, but many of them burn out. You and I, as executives, experience that. I would say to everybody in our viewing audience and our listening audience, you are the CEO of something. You're the CEO of yourself. Let's start there. And the question that I would pose for you right now is, what are you doing to put on your own oxygen mask? Now, one of the things that I've done, Tommy, is that I've decided that I'm not going to jump in frustration if you're frustrated.
All right.
I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to take the bait, Tommy.
Yeah.
I was, my wife and I just celebrated our 33rd wedding anniversary.
Yes, sir.
So, that was in September. So she says, Eric, I don't feel real great today, so I don't want to go out and sit in a restaurant, fight through all the people. I want you to go fight the crowd, go downtown to Ruth Chris, pick me up something delicious and bring it home. Yes, ma'am. So I'm on the highway. I'm running down 75. I get down, there's a Reds baseball game. So you can't park close to Ruth Chris. So I'm trying to duck into a garage. It says $20 for parking. So, I'm going to try to, let the guy know I'm just going across the street to get, dinner from my wife. It's our wedding anniversary. Yep. Can I park here for just a few minutes? Do I have to pay $20?
I'm in and out.
Oh, my God. He said, I'm so tired of people. Man, he just went off.
Yep.
I'm so tired of people just trying to get stuff for free. I said, my bad, man. I said, hey, look, I understand. I said, let me just go on and pull out. I'll go park somewhere else. No, just come on over here, park it. I'll give you the keys. And so I thought about it. Now, in my old days, Tom, if you start screaming at me, I get right next to that.
Yes.
So I got something, I'm going to dish right back at you. But anymore, whatever you're going through, I'm not going to jump in that tornado with you. I got out and I said, here, man. I said, let me give you something. I gave him a $50 bill. He said, oh, I can't take that. I said, no. I said, you got to take that, man. I said, it sounds like you've been catching hell all day. Yep. And he looked at me and all the color came back into his face. And he said, you have rebuilt my confidence in mankind. He said, how long have you been married? I said, 33 years. He said, man, I only made it 4. And Tommy, what I'm discovering is that we don't have to just accept what the world brings to us or react to that. The research says this, that every time we go through a traumatic experience, it costs us inside of ourselves. Our stress level goes up and our heart is racing, and there's a cost to be paid. But the research also says every time we recount that, we go through the same stressful experience as though we were experiencing it for the first time. So what I've decided is that whenever I have to fight with somebody, get mad with somebody, in an argument with somebody, it's taking life from me. But every time I recount that thing over and over and over again, it's killing me more. So I would say to people that as you look across your own controlled CEO of your own life, make sure that you are taking care of yourself. The second thing I want to say is something that Tommy and I are doing together. Tommy and I have been golfing a lot together. And Tommy, I'll tell you, the number one thing that I love about our golf, other than when we both playing well, we love that. Yeah. Which is periodic, golf up and down game. But the laughter that we have out there, there's sometimes, man, that you and I have almost fallen out of our carts laughing. Yes, and I know that is giving me more life because we raced out of office. Sometimes we didn't get all the work done, but we know that we have to find a way to restore ourselves and you got to read your body. You have to know what time we're living in. Yep. And you cannot just keep running with at the pace that life is pushing us and think that you can survive that.
Eric, obviously I'm going to laugh at our laughter because one thing that I enjoy most with our time together golfing, as you mentioned, laughter. It's really that, and I'm going to say this, I know you understand it, I'm going to clarify for our community. In our heart of hearts, we're kids.
Right. Oh, I
Eric,
love that, man.
We laugh so hard over those little caricatures, those cartoon type of stories, right? That we just running through our minds, because the pressures of adulting and business ownership and providing and dealing with the world literally on our shoulders is at times overwhelming, right? And when you look across the sitting next to you in the cart, or look across the table, or standing with someone, and you make the joke like, man, your knees buckling with that weight, right? Weight of what? That world, boy, that globe is heavy on you. And you get the wiggly legs, right? And all that good stuff. And when you can resonate with sometimes that pain, that hurt, that trauma, we don't have to reinstitute or replay the trauma.
Right.
So we're not repeating stories.
Right.
We're not repeating negative karma.
Right.
We are interjecting levity, humor, and life.
Right.
Like you said, Eric, it's life.
Right.
Man. And oftentimes, I'll speak personally for me. Oftentimes in golfing with you and your brother Wendell and some others, I am trying to, get better, make some corrections.
We all are, right?
Trying to make that good hit. But when I have that good laugh, this is why I'm out here, Eric. This is why. And that's at work as well. I have those, this is why I do what I do moments.
Right.
I want to invite our community as we continue our diversity conversations every weekend, every other weekend. We have some new news coming up as well. That can we pause and identify this is why I do it moments.
Right.
This is why I do it. And not really look too far in the past or project too far in the future.
That's right.
Because we can't control that all the time. But when living in the moment, can we bottle those moments? And I would say with you, Eric, and with Wendell, with a few others, that is the bottle. Right. I'm drinking that Kool-Aid, brother. I'm drinking it. And sometimes when I can't get away, and both of us, all of us, I'm like, man, they gun it, because I need to drink the Kool-Aid, right? And then sometimes drinking the Kool-Aid's got me in trouble, where I'm like, man, I got work to do, and I'm out here, laugh and everything. But I would not give it up for the world, because there is the alternative where other folks that we talked about before, they're quitting.
Right, they're quitting. They're checking out. Community, Ken Wilson, we are looking forward to you joining us. I think I even texted you one time because what we are doing, and Wendell has come a long way with his golf swing. I mean, Wendell has really. But what I love about our golf time together, because all of us are competitive, athletic guys.
Yep.
And so we are out there, some days good days, some days bad days, giving each other insights and about our golf swings that's helpful. But I'll tell you, man, you get to laugh at yourself so much out there. I'll never forget when I was giving Tommy some feedback about his golf swing. He had a shake or something, and he said, Eric, I don't know what that is. And I said, well, Tommy, you have to make sure that you don't come up. You know, and I didn't say it like that, but I did in my brain say it like that. And then all of a sudden, while I didn't say this, but I was like, I'm going to show him how this works. And I went back, and my ball went sideways, hit a tree, jumped back across the fairway, and I just said, and nobody knew how hilarious that was for me, that I'm saying I'm about to share this with Tom. You know, I ain't got to say it. I was just showing how this is done. And then all of a sudden, balls go everywhere. Your mind is scrambling. That's what I love about golf, too, is it is humbling. And when I played basketball, any other sport, man, when you came to the sport, you were pretty much the same guy. But in golf, man, golf is going to have you on silence sometimes. We have belly laughs. We were in a scramble one time, and we were trying to hit a chip shots, and that was early in the season. Our chip shots weren't that good. Remember when we talked about the gremlin that comes out and just holds on your wedge? Man, we visualized that, and we just laughed and laughed and laughed, and all of a sudden, whatever score we were trying to get didn't matter.
Didn't matter.
Trying to come up and win the tournament, that didn't matter.
I promise you, Eric,
we were having a ball.
Having a ball. I'm going to get a shirt. I'm going to get shirts made for us, the Golf Gremlins. I'm telling you, that was the funniest. And so I'm thinking now, we're talking here, and we're coming into our new season, Diversity Conversations, and we got, Ken Wilson. When Ken, we read his comments, I'm reading his comments.
Right.
I don't know if I'm prepared to laugh as hard as we're going to laugh when this brother joins us. Ken, we are trying to golf, right? Because I love Ken Wilson. I know his personality, his love, his heart is great. And so we're going to look good out there and have fun.
Right. I want to thank Roger Miller for joining in with us, and all of you that have decided to join Tommy and I. I'll tell you, as Tommy and I prepare to talk about what we want to do differently as we go forward, we do know that some of the things we want to do is we want to create mechanisms that will allow the community to join in. We want your voice to be a part of this process. So we're investigating that right now, whether we can bring you on another monitor or bring you on through a phone line of some sort. We really want to make you a part of this. But I can tell you, with everything that Tommy and I are talking about doing for the future, the thing that has kept us here for these 5 years has been our love of each other, the enjoyment that we have with each other, and for you all to keep encouraging us. Because, Tommy, I know we've talked about this. I might be out in the community and somebody will walk up to me and say, I watch your podcast. I watch you and Tommy, man. You guys are phenomenal. And I think people think, Tommy, that you hear that all the time.
Right.
And so maybe what they're saying to you is not as valuable as it is. But I would say that people watching, people choosing to invest their time, people saying complimentary things, and people giving us advice, all of those things just give us a little jolt of dopamine that helps us to be encouraged to keep moving forward, because we see so much in the media, the negative, that you and I have committed that that's not what we're going to be. We're not going to be an outlet that does nothing but rehash the negatives and add more anxiety and stress to people's lives, man. We want to add joy to people's lives. And certainly being here with you for these 5 years has been a blessing to me, has been a real gift. And for every person that speaks up and says something here in the community, we love you and we appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely, Eric. I appreciate you sharing that as well, because when I'm running across someone and they say the same thing, right, I'm almost baffled.
Right. Same here, man. Same here. Like, what? You seen it?
And so, obviously we're having the conversation. There's prep work that we do because we are in constant communication with one another. We're sharing best practices. We're sharing research. We're compiling this and we're streamlining it into a conversation that's an hour long. It's easy for us because it's what we do. But at the end of the day, you and I are having a conversation. Right. There's other people listening in, contributing, and all that good stuff. And so when there's the person that I haven't thought that was listening or watching, and they say, "Hey, great show," or "What you're doing," I'm like, God is great.
That's right.
Yeah. So I love what we're doing.
That's right. That's exactly right. And the thing is, I'll say this to you, that One of the things that I've shared with my children as a result of this pandemic and everything that they're going through, because I would say that this generation is under a lot of stress.
Yeah.
They are in the social media generation. They were born into that. So their lives are always on display. And they're always, if they're not careful, Tommy, they're judging themselves by what they see in the social atmosphere. And one of the things that I've said to my children is that success is not some destination that you're going after. Success is achieved in each moment that you live. And so, what I would say, I think that holds true about this show that we do, Tommy. You and I are analyzers, man. We are researchers. We're all about excellence. We try to help every client that we work with get to a better place. And so, everything we do is about analysis and research and progress. And we certainly have looked at this show through that same lens. But I would say to you, Tommy, that for me, the success that we've achieved is in each moment that we experience each other in this conversation, man.
Yeah.
And we know that we want to improve on all the ways that we do what we do. But I'm just so thankful to God that something that I don't think we would have signed up for
Right.
at the beginning. If somebody said you guys are going to be doing this, every Saturday for 5 years, we would not have said yes because we couldn't. We couldn't have said yes. We said a tentative yes, sort of week by week. But here we are now, 5 years later, week by week, because this conversation is allowing God to add value back to each of our lives. And the success that we've achieved can't be measured in viewers. It can't even be measured in the impact that we don't even know about. But it is measured in the joy that we get from each other and the way that I think that we are filling a void for some people. And too often, Tommy, I think that people, when they're going after big audiences, they lose the appreciation for the one.
Yes.
And so I want to say to each of you that listens to Tommy and I or watches Tommy and I want to say thank you. I really want to say thank you. You are enough. We don't need the thousands of others to come to the table for us to feel like this has been of value. If you say it's of value because you hang in there with us, we're grateful for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited, Eric, to hear more from our community, to leverage the platforms that we're trying to create to get them more involved, like you said, with coming up on the screen or dialing in. You remember we began on radio.
Right.
We began on radio, and even on radio, we had an opportunity for folks to dial in. And
Right.
you remember, weekend after weekend after weekend, a couple of people were dialing in, and then sometimes it was radio silence with the call-ins.
Right.
But we kept going. I enjoyed then with our producer, right? And we had a couple of producers, and I enjoyed kind of the behind the scenes coming together early in the morning. We were traveling from the state of Ohio to the state of Kentucky.
That's right.
Winding in the back roads into this small shanty home of a radio station that was very cozy, very professional, and really launching the seed that God had placed in you, Eric Ellis, and decided to branch out to include me. Mm-hmm. So I thank you for including me. I initially started with a laundry list of excuses. Can't, won't.
That's right.
And now part of my DNA, as our community is saying, are you all still there? I'm like, are we going to get back? Still need to rest.
Right.
Are we going to get back? We're excited. I'm excited. I'll speak personally to have even more dynamic guests.
That's right.
Joining us, right?
Right.
Local, regional, national guests calling in, dialing in, being part of the conversation so that we and our community can really challenge some folks in a respectful way, obviously, and grow through diversity conversations. The answers are in us, right?
Right.
We just need to take our steel, sharpen it against other steel, and then be brilliant in serving who we're serving, ourselves, our family, our faith, right? All that good stuff, but still continue the dialogue.
I love that, Tommy. And so what I'd like to do as we are coming to the last 10 minutes of this show is I'd like our community to weigh in, if you don't mind, and give us a sense of guests that you'd like us to consider, maybe, and we'll maybe even do a more formal survey. Topics that you think you'd like to see us address. Tommy, one of the things that I'm concerned about is in many ways, people are just checking out of processes. They are checked out of the political process. If we look at what's happening in England, their newest prime minister, Liz Truss, is resigning after 45 days.
Yeah.
I mean, 45 days. But I think what it's an indication of is the failure of political systems and political leaders and the structures that we have right now. And I don't think we're that far behind.
Mm-hmm.
Right here in the US, we're not that far behind. The question that I ask in almost every session that I do that gets unanimous response, I ask people, I said, what grade would you give our Congress, Democrats and Republicans, for working to be together on behalf of us, the American people? What grade would you yell it out? F minus. I mean, people they're all agreed or unanimous, unified behind the notion that we are not being well served by our political leaders and systems right now. Tommy, so I'm wondering, you and I have the desire to be that pebble, maybe even that gets thrown in the water that might create some ripples, man, of change. But we've got to find ways to gain hope again, that we can have influence on the systems that exist around us. Because if we don't do it, and I think the first thing you have to do is you have to detach yourself from the game that you're in.
Yeah.
We're all in this game where the media and politicians are searching for one of the greatest natural resources today is not our time, it's our attention.
Yes.
And so they're vying for our attention. We've got to detach ourselves from the negative value that they're getting. In other words, when they show disasters, then we give them our attention. We've got to revolt from that. And we've got to begin to take back our power and regain some hope. Because without that, Tommy, we're doomed, man. And so I think that one of the greatest opportunities for marginalized people is to figure out how do we collaborate one to another with other broken people and with other allies and people that want to do things to make the world around us better. Tommy, maybe we can be a small conduit to that. But those are the kind of conversations we're interested in, people letting us know. What would you like us to sort of address? And if there are any special guests, if you don't put it on the post here, you've got our emails, you've got ways to follow up with us. We want to hear from you.
Yeah, Eric, that's perfect. I fully trust and believe in our community of wise sages, seasoned professionals, average people doing extraordinary things. And sometimes their work is not always acknowledged or recognized, but we know from the barbershop and the beauty salon to the athletic coach to the minister.
That's right.
Right. All of these very important people doing important things adds tremendous value into the sustainability of our humanity. And we know that over the last several years, even beyond that there's been some chinks in our armor of humanity. And there are, unfortunately, other people that find it pleasurable to widen the gap of vulnerability.
Right.
At the same time, right, shrugging and covering their own humane vulnerabilities. So these diversity conversations is around being human, being productive in our thoughts, our speech, and our behavior.
That's good, Tommy.
And then also hearing different perspectives openly. So I am excited, very excited. And I've been thinking about some things and we'll run them by you, Eric, and others. I want to have some folks that we diametrically
Right.
are opposed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
We're okay
And,
with that.
and that's what let's talk. Let me learn. Let me listen. And
Right.
I just remember in closing, when I was in undergraduate school down at Tennessee State University, studying Africana studies and European studies. One time, our Black studies or African American studies professor had invited a grand dragon of the Ku Klux Klan to be a guest speaker.
Right.
For those who are less familiar, Tennessee State University is a historically Black college and university. 95, 96% Black at the time, 4% were in College of Nursing, some other things like that. But it was unusual to have this obvious racist in the classroom talking about why he doesn't like us.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the greatest learnings that I've had, such
Right.
that I'm talking about it now.
Right.
I just heard that sentiment and I actually agreed with his passion, right? Because I had the same passion about my own identity,
Right.
right? I didn't agree with his perspective.
Right.
I agreed with his passion.
Right.
So that's what I'm looking forward to, agreeing or even disagreeing with one's passion, purpose, perspective, all the P's, right? So we can have this conversation.
Right. Tommy, I may have shared this with you before. Before the country shut down, back when President Trump was our president, I was in Georgia. I was doing a diversity workshop. I'm known for every once in a while, I'll just do something crazy in a workshop. So I said, how many of you here are big time supporters of President Trump and you feel like he's getting a raw deal or misunderstood? Raise your hands. 6 hands. I said, join me for a fishbowl. So I put 6 chairs in a circle, had them all sit down, and I started asking them a question. I said, what do you love most about the president? Well, I love that he loves his country. He's trying to keep us safe. That's why he's trying to build a wall. Okay. What else do you love about him? Well, I love that he's a patriot. Where do you see him as being misunderstood? Well, when they call him a racist, that's like the furthest thing from the truth. President Trump is not a racist. Look what he's done with the economy. I mean, that he cares about everybody. And because of his economy, look what's happened with the finances of the brown man and the black man. And, and I asked him one last thing. And then I said, thank you. And they paused for a minute. They looked at each other. They looked at me and said, what you mean? Is it over?
Yeah.
I mean, when's the other shoe supposed to drop? When are you supposed to call us an idiot? I said, no, there's no other shoe. And I have no plans of calling you an idiot. I would fight and die for your freedom to vote for whoever you want to vote for. I said, I just want to demonstrate to you what it looks like to be curious. Wow. And so sometimes, Tommy, we don't have to debate and argue people, man. Sometimes maybe what we can do is just model something that's different and decide again not to be drawn into somebody else's negative argument that keeps us as nothing but fighting. Because actually, you voting for Trump is not the worst thing in the world. And I know you got some reasons why you did what you did. I just heard them. And I figure if I use enough humility to listen to you, maybe you also will be interested in listening to other perspectives. Tommy, that's what you and I are trying to accomplish here. We're grateful for those that have joined us. We're grateful for those that have impacted us and those that have been impacted by what you and I do. Well, Tommy, you've got the final word, man. If you want to sort of close us out as we end our comeback session and look forward to the upcoming weeks.
Yeah, just 2 quick things. One, we're all in seasons of growth, development, change, and transition. Wanted to shout out my sister, Anita, Bothwell, who recently transitioned from the place of independence and owning and running everything to matrimony and having a man in her life that she can partner with and help him, and he can help her. And so to my brother-in-law, my brother Fernando, and my sister Anita, congratulations. And so I would like to leave us with, let's keep fighting the good fight, keep having the conversations that we need to have, and always, if at all possible, continue to give yourself and each other grace. Looking forward to this season of Diversity Conversations, Eric.
All right. Thank you all. We'll join you next week, same time, same station, as we continue these wonderful, exciting diversity conversations. Take care. Take care of each other. Tell somebody you love them.
Take care.